Today we continue Four Noble Truths. Second Noble Truth, Dukkha Samudaya Ariya Satya. We have to recite the Pali. I will recite first, you listen. Idang Kopana Bhikkhave Dukkha Samudaya Ariya Satya. Yayantana Pono Bhavika Nandira Gasagata Tatra Tatra Binandini. Sayadaw Kamadana Bhavadana Vibhavadana. Can you follow me? Idang Kopana Bhikkhave Dukkha Samudayam Ariya Satya Yayantana Pono Bhavika Nandiraga Sagata Tadra Tadra Binandini Sayadidam Kamadana Bhavadana Vibhavadana. Recite together. Idang Kopana Bhikkhave Dukkha Samudayam Ariya Satya Yayantana Pono Bhavika Nandiraga Sagata Tadra Tadra Vinandini Sayadidam Kamadana Bhavadana Vibhavadana. Again. Idang Kopana Bhikkhave Dukkha Samudayam Ariya Satya Yayantana Pono Bhavika Nandiraga Sagata Tadra Tadra Vinandini Tidam Kamadana Bhavadana Vibhavadana. Again. Idang Kopana Bhikkhave Dukkha Samudayam Ariya Satya Yayantana Pono Bhavika Nandiraga Sagata Tadra Tadra Vinandini Tidam Kamadana Bhavadana Vibhavadana. Translation, follow me. Now this bhikkhus is the noble truth of the origin of suffering. It is this craving which leads to rebecoming, accompanied by delight and lust, seeking delight here and there, that is, craving for sensual pleasures, craving for permanent becoming, craving for one life becoming. Read together. Now this bhikkhus is the noble truth of the origin of suffering. It is this craving which leads to becoming, accompanied by delight and lust, seeking delight here and there, that is, craving for sensual pleasures, craving for permanent becoming, craving for one life becoming. Second noble truth, Dukkha Samudaya Ariya Satya, the noble truth of the origin of suffering. Buddha said, Idang Kopana Bhikkhave Dukkha Samudayam Ariya Satya. Bhikkhus, What I will presently teach is the noble truth concerning the origin of suffering, or the truth which Aryas should know. There is this hunger, this craving, which gives rise to fresh rebirth and is bound up with pleasure and attachment, or it is the nature of pleasure and attachment, seeks delight, finds gratification now here, now there, everywhere. What is this Taṇhā? What is this craving? Craving is the three kinds. Number one, Kama Taṇhā, sensual craving, desire for enjoyment of sensual pleasures. Second one, Bhava Taṇhā, craving for eternal existence, holding the eternity belief. Number three, Vibhava Taṇhā, craving for non-existence, believing that there is nothing after death. So these three kinds of craving are the truth of the origin of suffering. The truth of the origin of suffering is craving. Craving is the causal agency responsible for all kinds of suffering. All kinds of suffering, they are dukkha, 12 kinds of 12 dukkha, jatipi dukkha, starting from the suffering of fresh becoming to pinchupadana dukkha, suffering of the five aggregates of grasping. To eliminate suffering, it is essential to know the cause of suffering. It is like making a diagnosis to know the cause of an ailment so that it may be cured. Buddha had personally penetrated to this truth of the cause of suffering and had consequently penetrated to this truth of the cause of suffering and had consequently entirely eradicated suffering by removing its cause. The origin of suffering, samudaya sacca, is nothing but Taṇhā, craving for hunger. It is like feeling thirsty or hungry. Taṇhā is thirst or hunger for sensual object. Yayan Taṇhā Pono Bhavika, the craving for sensual object gives rise to fresh becoming. So long as the person remains in the grip of this craving, continuous rebirth will take place. Continuous suffering will take place. We have to listen how fresh rebirths take place. This craving finds pleasure in sense object and clings to them. Craving is like oil or dye solution, remains absorbed on any surface it happens to come into contact. Craving is delighted with seemingly pleasant sense object and holds on to them tenaciously. This Taṇhā, this craving finds gratification here, there, everywhere. There is never any boredom in the pursuit of pleasure. There is never any monotony in the pursuit of sensual pleasures. Never satisfied, never contentment. Any seemingly pleasurable sense object, wherever it presents itself, gives delight. In our human world, life in the lowest strata of society may be anything but attractive or pleasant to people of higher station. Unfortunately, there are people who are born into poor circumstances, stay enjoying their lives wherever they may be. Likewise, to the human mind, animal life is unpleasurable, animal life is repulsive, horrible. To assume the physical body of a snake or an insect is an abominable thought for human beings. Yet, if rebirth takes place in an animal world, a being is quite pleased with his physical body and finds delight in his life. It is because of the nature of craving, which finds gratification in every existence, in every sense object, wherever it may be. So Buddha said, Taṇhā is finding pleasure here, there, in every existence, in every sense object. So this is well illustrated by the stories of Sampaya Naga King and Queen Upri. Today you have to listen the story of Sampaya Naga King. In one existence, our Bodhisattva was born into a poor family in the vicinity of the river Sampa. One day he saw the life of pleasure enjoyed by the Sampaya Naga king. So when he saw the pleasure enjoyed by that Naga king, he was envious of this life of pleasure. So to enjoy this Sampaya Naga king, our Bodhisattva engaged himself in the good deeds of Dana Sila, giving alms and observing the moral precepts. Bodhisattva fulfilled these meritorious deeds. As a result, when he passed away, he was reborn spontaneously in the realms of Nagas. And he found himself seated on the throne of the Sampaya Naga king in the full shape and form of Naga king. You know, Naga is a species of snake. To be reborn as a snake from the human existence is really frightful and abominable. So Bodhisattva look at his repulsive, horrible new form and reflected in this way. As a result of my good deeds of charity and observance of morality, I could have been reborn in any of the 6 realms of the celestial realms, but because I had wished for the pleasures of the Naga king, now I am reborn into the worlds of reptiles. So it disappointed, and he thought to die would be better than to live the life of a snake. So the Naga king even played with the idea of committing suicide. So at that time, the young Naga female by the name of Sumana gave signal to other young Naga females to commence entertaining their new king, Bodhisattva. The young Naga females assumed the appearance of beautiful devis and goddesses. They started singing and dancing and playing various musical instruments. Bodhisattva, the Naga king, saw the beautiful goddesses entertaining him with song, dance, and music. The Naga king imagined his Naga abode to the palace of uh, the kinds of gods and felt very pleased. He also took on the appearance of a god himself and joined the female Nagas in their uh, in their entertainment with much delight. However, he was a bodhisattva. Bodhisattva can easily regain the sense of reality. So Bodhisattva, the Naga king, resolved to be born again as a human being so that he would further promote his paramis, the virtuous qualities of almsgiving, dana, keeping moral precepts, sila, etc. So in pursuance of this resolution, the Sambian Naga king later came to the human world and sought solitude in a forest and kept observant of the moral precepts. The point we wish to make in the story of Sambian Naga king is that from the human point of view, the body of a reptile is horrible, repulsive. At the initial stage of the Naga life, the Bodhisattva also viewed his new life with horror and revulsion, but the sight of the attractive female Nagas brought about a change in his outlook that kept him delighting in the Naga existence as if it was the home of gods. So it is Taṇhā, it is craving which seeks delight here, there, everywhere rebirth takes place, that made the Bodhisattva enjoy his Naga life after the initial revulsion. And there was also the wish he had made while he was a poor man in the human world for the pleasurable life of a Naga king. This wish or craving was also Taṇhā, which landed him in the realms of the Nagas in accordance with the words of Buddha. Yayan Taṇhā Bhavika. Craving gives rise to new birth. So another story is the story of Queen Upri. Queen Upri was the chief queen of King Asaka. King Asaka rules over the country of Kasi as its capital Patali. Queen Upri was very beautiful. The Queen Upri was outstanding among the queen because of her raving beauty and enchantment. Bewitched by her alluring beauty, King Asaka had lost his heart to the queen. Much adored by the monarch, and while still in the prime of her beauty and charm, Queen Ubri passed away. When the person died, he or she have to be reborn in an existence as conditioned by karma. The person died and he or she have to be reborn in an existence as conditioned by previous pollution activities. As it happened, Queen Upri, in spite of the saying, according to the cultural usage, that she had gone to the gods, actually she was reborn in the abode of lowly beetles. With the passing away of his adored queen, King Aska was consumed by fiercely burning fires of sorrow and lamentation. So he asked the corpse of queen embalmed in oil to be placed in the glass coffin and kept underneath his bedstead. Overwhelmed by grief, the king lay on the bed without food or sleep, wailing, mourning over the loss of his beloved queen. The royal relatives and his wise minister tried to console the king and gave his solace by reminding him of the nature of impermanence and conditionality of existence, but all to no avail. The corpse in the coffin was embalmed in oil, would remain well preserved, just like being treated with chemical preservatives of modern times. So the queen would appear to the queen as if she was lying, sleeping in the coffin. The size of the corpse added like fuel to his burning sorrows and lamentation, which continued to consume him for 7 days. So at that time, our Bodhisattva was a hermit, endowed with abhenya, supernormal jhanic powers. The Bodhisattva, the hermit, lived in the forest of the Himalaya. The hermit happened to scan the whole world using his abhenya, and he saw King Asaka in the throes of intense sorrow. So the hermit knew that no one but himself could save the king from his misery. So the hermit made his way to the royal garden of King Asaka by means of his jhanic power. In the garden, the young Brahmin came to meet the hermit, and the young man asked him about King Asaka. And the young man told the hermit how the king was being overwhelmed by grief and requested the hermit to save the king. The hermit said, "We do not know the king, but if the king came to me and asked me, we could tell him about his wife's present existence," replied the hermit. So the young man went to the king and said, "Great sir, a hermit endowed with celestial eyes and celestial ears has arrived in our royal garden. He claims he could show the present existence of your departed queen. It would be worthwhile to go and see him," the young man said to the king. Upon hearing this, the king immediately took off for the royal garden in a carriage. On arrival, the king paid respectful homage to the hermit and addressed him. "Reverend sir, it is true that you claim to know the present existence of my queen Upri?" And the hermit admitted his claim. And the king wanted to know where the queen was reborn. And the hermit replied, "O great king, your queen Upri took delight in her beauteous appearance, and she was very vain about it. Your queen had spent her time engaged in beautifying herself to make herself more alluringly attractive, and she forgot all the while to perform meritorious deeds, to do charity and observe moral precepts. O great king, as a result, your queen has passed over a lowly existence. She is presently reborn as a female countdown beetle in this very garden." The hermit told the whole story very frankly. We need to understand people favored by fortune, enjoying privilege of wealth, family, education, rank, physical beauty, etc., are prone to exhibit haughtiness in their dealings with others, shrouded in their own vanity and self-esteem. They become neglectful in their performance of meritorious deeds. Humility plays no part in their makeup, and Buddha taught in the Sulakama Vibhinga Sutta that such vain, glorious, haughty person are liable to land up in lowly, inferior rebirths. On the other hand, unpretentious person who show humility and pay reverential respect to those deserving of homage will be reborn in noble families. Queen Upri was extremely beautiful, and being the chief queen of the ruling monarch, she was very high status in life. She had her head turned by these preeminent qualities and looked down with contempt on those she should have shown her respect. For such unwholesome attitudes and action, she was reborn a lowly female countdown beadle. On hearing this account of the rebirth of his beloved queen, King Asaka promptly rejected it. The king said, I don't believe that my beautiful queen was reborn a lowly female countdown beadle. I don't believe. Then the hermit replied, I can show you the female and make her talk. The hermit said, and the king replied, all right, please do and make her talk. So the hermit, using his supernatural power of Abhenya, and made a vow for both the male and female beetle to make their appearance before the king. When the male and female beetle emerged from the heap of the countdown into the presence of the king, the hermit said, O king, the female beetle which is following from behind was your chief queen Upari Devi. Having abandoned you, now she is trailing the male countdown beetle wherever it goes. O king, have a good look at this female beetle who was lately your chief queen Upri. The hermit said to the king. The king refused to believe the hermit. I cannot believe that such an intelligent being as my queen Upri was reborn as this female countdown beetle. The king said, true, for those who do not quite believe in the law of karma and its resultant effect, who do not understand the principle of conditionality, who do not understand the principle of causal relationship, as explained in the Paticca Samuppada, dependent origination, it would be difficult to accept that a being of a human world should have gone down so low as to become a female countdown beetle. Even in these days of Sasana, when the Buddha teachings are widely prevalent, there are some people holding the view that when man dies, he cannot descend into the existence inferior to that of a human being. So it is not surprising that during the dark ages, when the Buddha dispensation was yet unheard of, such stories were received with skepticism. Nevertheless, according to the teaching of the Buddha, for so long as the person has not yet attained the status of an Arya noble ones, he or she can descend from the human world or celestial realms into the four lower states of existence. Conditioned by bad karma and mental reflection, just before death, he or she will be reborn in the lower order of beings. On the other hand, conditioned by good karma, a wholesome mental attitude, on the threshold of death, he or she may be reborn in the he or she may be reborn in the higher realm of human and celestial beings, or conditioned by good karma and wholesome mental attitude. On the threshold of death, the person from an inferior sphere of existence into the higher realms of humans and celestial beings. There is a story of a bhikkhu, the monk named Reverend Tesa. Reverend Tesa developed attachment to his robe, which was good quality, when he was about to die. And as a consequence, the monk Tesa was reborn a body lost, making his home on those very robe. And there's another story of a frog. The frog met its death while listening to a discourse by the Buddha. Fortunately, the frog became a celestial being in Tawadesa celestial abode. So these are examples which serve an evidence of various transformation at the time of rebirth. However, King Asaka, not having heard of such discourses, could not accept that his queen Upri had become a female beetle. He did not believe. Accordingly, he refused to believe it. So the hermit proposed that he would make the female beetle talk. The king accepted the proposal. So the hermit made the vow using his supernatural powers to have the conversation between him and the female beetle comprehensible to the king and his audience. The hermit used his supernatural power. So the hermit asks to female beetle, "Who were you in your past life?" The hermit asks. And the female beetle replied, "I was the chief queen Upri of King Asaka." And the hermit Bodhisattva asks, "Now, female beetle, do you still love your King Asaka, or do you love only this Kaunam beetle?" The hermit asks, and the Kaunam female beetle replied, "True, King Asaka was my husband in my past life. At that time, I used to roam about this garden in the company of King Asaka, enjoying the five sensual pleasures of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. But now that I am in the new existence, I have nothing to do with King Asaka. The commentary version of the female beater's reply is as follows. In my present existence, I could relish killing King Asaka and with the blood from his throat, wash the feet of the Kaunam beetle, who is my present beloved husband. So this exposition makes the beetle replies sound very harsh and unfeeling, but as she was talking in the presence of her dear husband, the May beetle, it is natural that she wanted to please him. We can easily see in everyday life many conspicuous examples of estrangement between ex-husband and wives who get separated in this very life on grounds of incompatibility. An example of loving kindness, loving tenderness heaped on their new partners in life. So the remarks in the commentary appears to be quite in order. The Jataka Pali text describes the female beater reply in this way. Reverend Sir, the female beater said, I, who had loved King Asaka, had roamed about in this garden many a time together with King Asaka, who had loved me and who was my beloved husband, then enjoying each other company. But now, the joys and troubles of the present new life have covered up the joys and troubles of the old life. The new joys and troubles have transcended the old joys and troubles. The female beater replied, I love my present husband, the male Kauntam beetle, more than I did King Asaka. The commentary exposition of the words Piyataro, love more than makes interesting. It say love more than means love 100 times more, love 1,000 times more, indicating the intensity of love in favor of the new husband. Now King Aska was greatly distressed to hear the harsh, unfeeling words of estrangement from the lips of the female Kauntam beetle. He thought to himself, I had loved and adored her so much, I could not throw away her dead body, yet she had become so antipathetic and nasty to me. So he felt so disgusted with his old queen Upri, and he ordered, even while sitting there, go and have that woman's body removed. King, the king said. Then he had bathed and washed himself. The king went back to the palace. He made another court lady his chief queen and carried on ruling over his country wisely. The Bodhisattva hermit, after giving good advice to the king, went back to the Himalaya sanctuary to practice. Now the moral from this story is that Queen Upri, while in the human world, had taken delight in being a human person, a queen at that, she would never have even dreamt of being reborn a female quantum beetle. But in accordance with her past karma, when she was reborn a female quantum beetle, she at once took to the life and delight in the physical body of a quantum beetle. She adored the physical body of the May beetle 100 times, 1,000 times more than that of King Asaka. That she felt quite at home in her lowly existence as a quantum beetle is due to Taṇhā, due to craving, which finds delight everywhere. That is why Buddha said, Yayan Taṇhā Paunabhavika Nandi Raga Sagata Tatra Tatra Binandini. Taṇhā has the tendency to delight wherever it finds rebirth. Craving has a tendency to delight wherever it finds rebirth. So the first noble truth, the second noble truth, the first noble truth is to be understood. How to understand the first noble truth? Yogi come to practice meditation. Yogi trying to take note of every phenomena occurring at the six senses: sitting, standing, walking, stretching, bending, seeing, hearing, etc. Yogi trying to take note of every phenomena occurring at the six senses, and Yogi understand these phenomena are to be merely the nature of impermanence because they are arising and disappearing continuously, and they are unsatisfactoriness and unsubstantiality. Yogi understand the truth of suffering. So with every instance of taking note, Parinya Pariveda, the task of gaining penetrative insight knowledge as to the understanding of the truth of suffering is accomplished. As second noble truth, the cause of suffering must be eradicated. How to eradicate the kinds of craving? Having seen the true nature of impermanent suffering and non-self of each phenomena, Yogi have seen the true nature of these phenomena as impermanence, because Yogi take note of them continuously and no opportunity arise for liking or craving for these Namarupa process. So this momentary eradication of your craving, the truth of the origin of suffering. So with every instance of taking note, the task of gaining insight knowledge as to eradication of the cause of suffering is accomplished. So by taking note of every phenomena occurring at the six senses, you can understand the first noble truth of suffering. At the moments of noting, when you see the true nature of the Namarupa process, mind-body process, you can eradicate the craving, the cause of suffering. So the first noble truth have to be understood, the second noble truth, craving, have to be eradicated, the third noble truth, The cessation of suffering must be realized, and the Four Noble Truths have to be developed. That is Eightfold Path. So there are many stories in this second Noble Truth. We will continue tomorrow. We have to stop our discourse for today. By practicing vipassana meditation, by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses, may you see the noble truth of suffering, may you eradicate the cause of suffering, may you realize the cessation of suffering, may you develop the Eightfold Path continuously, and may you be liberated from all suffering. May you realize the real peace in the very near future.